Wow. Pura vida, mi gente. Shalom. Much love and respect. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. And this is part 4 of History or Myth. And the whole point of this series is to be able to talk about things that people consider, conspiracies or taboo or myths. But a lot of these subjects might actually be historical. So we, like to talk about them. We leave it up to you to decide. And with these series, I always ask everybody, let's be logical. Let's remember all the research we've done before. And you make your own conclusions based on that. So, what I wanted to start out with today is things that we know and things that we can prove first before we get to the main topic. So, one of those things we do know is that Abraham Lincoln was a dark complexioned man, swarthy, so called black, so called Negro, whatever you want to call it, but he was. We've shown the primary sources describing his parents, describing him, and his autobiography of him describing himself, as you guys can see here in this image. This is very legit. I showed in this video right here. This is the cover and thumbnail of the video. If you guys want to check it out if you haven't. And this is Abraham Lincoln right here saying that he is dark complexion with coarse black hair. Autobiography. Again, if you have not watched this video, go ahead and check it out so you can see for yourself what it says. And then again, you make your own logical conclusions. And let's not practice cognitive dissonance. We also know there was so-called black Europeans, black Germans. A lot of those were Quakers, which Abraham Lincoln's family goes back to. And on his mom's side, there's definitely some trace of indigenous blood, what they're calling Melungeon. We know for sure this was a colored person. This is Abraham Lincoln being portrayed by Bing Crosby in an old movie. So knowing and being able to prove that Abraham Lincoln was a so-called black man, a lot of people always ask me in the comments, so who's this other guy in the pictures? Who's the Lincoln they show us in the textbooks, on Wikipedia, and all over the internet? Who is that guy? Who is this guy they're always showing us? Right, guys? He don't look swarthy to me or dark skin at all. How would you mistake this person for being very dark complexion? Because that's how he was described. Very, very dark complexioned. Does this look like a very dark complexioned man to you? All right, so just hold that thought right there. Let's get into the video. All right, so we're in the website atlasobscura.com. We've read this before. I want to read it again today, guys. It says here, the great lengths taken to make Abraham Lincoln look good in portraits. One famous image of the president features a body that isn't his. How about the face? This is by Michael Waters. And real quick, they have an image right here. It says print of Lincoln versus print of Calhoun engraven. All right, we're going to get a close-up of this. You guys see? It's the exact same thing. This is the original one right here on the right, and this is the fake one on the left. That was never Lincoln. They just used the decoy. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. You guys will see by the end of the video. All right, check out the checkered floor, Freemasonic symbolism. Abraham Lincoln had a problem during his 1860 campaign as a Republican candidate for the American presidency in an era after the birth of the photograph, but before its widespread dissemination in the media, before everybody had it. Not everybody had a camera. Many of the country's citizens could only guess at what he looked like. Do you hear that? Very important. Many of the country's citizens didn't even know what Abraham looked like. So they could easily be fooled with any picture they make of him, right? If they didn't know what he looked like, come on. Rumors of his ugliness proliferated. The North Carolina newspaper, the Newborn Weekly Progress, wrote that Lincoln was coarse, vulgar, and uneducated, while the Houston Telegraph opined that he was the leanest, lankiest, most ungainly mass of legs, arms, and hatchet face ever strung upon a single frame. He has most unwarrantably abused the privilege which all politicians have of being ugly. Though the rumors of Lincoln's ugliness stayed mostly within Democratic circles, Lincoln was not anxious to let the idea spread, so he turned to Matthew Brady, a well known photographer with a studio on Pennsylvania Avenue. In many ways, Brady was perfect, though Brady himself had bad vision and did not take many of his own photos. He conceptualized images. All right, we're talking about early Photoshop in here, guys. Arranged the sitters and oversaw the production of pictures. Plus, according to the New York Times, Brady was not adverse to certain forms of retouching, all right, altering the picture, photoshopping. All right, and then I got this picture of Lincoln. Weird Lincoln looking here. We'll see. Is this really Lincoln? Who is this? We'll see. So it says supposedly this is a Lincoln Copper Union photo, 1860. Watch what it's gonna say about this photo, guys. You think this is a real photo? In February 1860, just before Lincoln gave the Copper Union address that would help secure him the Republican presidential nomination, Brady had Lincoln pose for what would soon become one of the first widely disseminated photographs of the future president. The background is bare. Lincoln places his hand on two books, his eyes on the viewer. Behind him is a column and a neutrally colored wall. But to quash once and for all the rumors of Lincoln's ugliness, Brady added some special effects. He focused excessively amounts of light on Lincoln's face in order to distract from his gangly frame. He had the future president curl up his fingers so that their remarkable length would go unnoticed. Brady even artificially enlarged Lincoln's collar so that his neck would look more proportional. Soon after it was taken, the Brady photo was plastered across American newspapers, including Harper's Weekly, and featured on numerous postcards. All right, so famous drawn on Harper's Weekly. Again, it's a fake picture. In some reproductions, artists tinkered further with Brady's creation. Apparently, subsequent versions of this famous portrait also show that artists smoothed Lincoln's hair and subtly refined his features. Though this kind of tinkering is familiar today with public figures enduring intense pressure to look their best at all times, it was quite new in 1860. Regardless, the photo received such a rapturous reception that Lincoln later said, Brady and the Copper Institute made me President. Brady with his photoshopping. Very subliminal right here, what he's saying. He made me a president. He made the lie real. After his election, Lincoln kept returning to Brady for portraits. In all, Brady produced more than 30, possibly all fake, including the images that are now memorialized on the penny and the $5 bill. So Brady did those. The guy who photoshopped stuff, right? But Brady's tweaks of Lincoln's appearance were not the most conspicuous edits made to his photographs. After Lincoln's assassination, there was a dearth of heroic style pictures of the president, so one portrait painter got creative. On a print of the late president, Thomas Hicks superimposed Lincoln's head onto the body of John C. Calhoun, the virulent racist and slavery proponent who did not exactly see eye to eye with the 16th president. What did they do, guys? They created a fake picture. They put the fake face of Lincoln onto another person's body, John C. Calhoun's. That's the picture we saw earlier, this one right here. Okay? That's the original. So John C. Calhoun engraving from 1852. Engraver A.H. Ritchie created the Calhoun image in 1852. The original included the words strict constitution, free trade, and the sovereignty of the states on the desk papers, but when it was altered to feature Lincoln instead, the words were changed to Constitution, Union, and Proclamation of Freedom. All right, you see how they be altering and changing history? And here's the fake one again with a fake face of Lincoln, not even his face. For a century, no one noticed. The print was only recently revealed to have been faked. It's been faked. Photojournalist Stephan Laurent was compiling photos of Lincoln for his book Lincoln, A Picture Story of His Life, first published in 1957, then revised in 1969, when he discovered something odd. In the Hicks print, Lincoln's mole was on the wrong side of his face. I've noticed that, guys, trust me. After some investigation, he realized that Lincoln's face in the print exactly matched his face in Brady's $5 bill photo, except in the print, Lincoln's face was flipped, making Lincoln's mole show up on the opposite side. All right, again, photoshopping, and they don't even know how to hide things right. Apparently, Hicks hadn't noticed this discrepancy when superimposing the picture onto Calhoun's body. They put the mold on the wrong side. All right, so here goes another fake picture of Lincoln. And again, this is the fake $5 bill that Brady did again. Brady's the Photoshopper. Do you guys know this was fake? He put a fake head on him. But this high profile precursor to a Photoshop edit was not only used on photos of Lincoln, Brady often altered images. For a group photo of General William Sherman's staff, he edited in a member who couldn't attend. In fact, Brady even asked soldiers to pretend they were dead. For some of his famous Civil War portraits, pretend you guys are dead, make it look real. The Civil War didn't go down how they told us, guys. This is deep right here. Remember my Civil War videos? It wasn't about slavery. But was there really a war how they told us? What's up with all these pictures? They don't really ever show a battle. They just show the people standing, posing. Or, as it says here, some dead bodies. Some fake dead bodies. Some people pretending to be dead. Pretending to be dead. You read it, guys. Look. I'm not making this up. At least Lincoln, despite all of the posing Brady had him do, never had to lie on a battlefield and feign death for the sake of Kodak moment. At least he didn't have to pretend he was one of those people dead on the field. All right, so that's deep. How can they just admit that with a straight face, huh? So again, a lot of fake pictures when it comes to Lincoln, guys, which makes sense, right? Because we know he was a so-called black man. We do know that, and we've proven it. Okay, so much for Honest Abe. Famous portrait of President Lincoln's wife is a fake. Even his wife's pics are fake. The portrait of First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln that was proudly displayed in the Illinois governor's mansion was discovered to be a fake by art historians. Originally thought to be an accurate portrait of President Abraham Lincoln's wife, the portrait is simply a slightly altered version of a painting of an unknown woman. All right? Fake pictures everywhere of him, his wife, everybody. The fake portrait was accompanied by a fake backstory as well. The legend was that Mrs. Lincoln and Mr. Carpenter were in cahoots, and she secretly sat for the portrait so that she could give it to her loving husband as a present. The portrait was purchased by Lincoln descendants in the 1930s for about $3,000. They got scammed. And then they donated it to the Illinois Historical Society in the 1970s. Just recently, it was sent for a cleaning, during which conservator Barry Bauman discovered the inaccuracy. So now this is supposed to be the real one. And just look at her face. Remember that. I'm going to show you a man that looks just like her today. Is this really his wife? Or is this another decoy? All right, so before we continue, I just want to show you guys that this was actually a thing. Back in the 1800s and early 1900s, they were photoshopping things a lot back in those times. And Science and Media Museum.org, photo editing before Photoshop. It was always possible to alter a photograph with darkroom trickery or clever layering of negatives. In the 1920s, for example, Alexander Rodchenko used scissors and paste to assemble impossible collages from multiple photographs. This is daysdigital.com. It says here, it turns out Photoshop was a thing even in the 19th century. Ernest Eugene Eppert faked photographs of the 1871 Paris Commune massacres, whilst photographs published in Stalin-era Soviet Russia had purged party officials erased from them. Others were more playful. Photographs were manipulated using a variety of techniques: multiple exposure, taking 2 or more pictures on a single negative, combination printing, producing a single print from 2 or more negatives, photo montage, and retouching directly onto the negative or print. And then you got this one, which is a funny one because it's actually dealing with Lincoln, and it's supposed to be his wife, right? Remember that face, all right? That's a guy. I'm going to show you guys who it is. And Lincoln Spirit, fake Lincoln Spirit is supposed to be behind her, right? Again, Photoshop, 1870s. This is from 1880, all right? So, it's nothing new. This is something I thought interesting. I want to show you guys. It's in sprayteachers.com. And there's actually a book for grade levels 8th to 11th, as you guys see here. All right, it says Photoshopping Abraham Lincoln, a close look at articles to and the requirements to be president. Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of American history. However, he was exceptionally homely and gangly in appearance. How did early attempts at Photoshop make him more appealing to the voters? All right. Again, Photoshopping Abraham Lincoln, all fake pictures. All right, back on dailymail.co.uk, it says here, ye oldie Photoshop, the first ever altered images, including two pictures stitched together to make iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Another website letting you know he's been Photoshopped. All right, and then it gives you some other examples here I wanted to show you guys. It says here, the photo on the left appears to be a General Ulysses S. Grant in front of his troops at City Point, Virginia, during the American Civil War. It is in fact created from three pictures: the head from a portrait of Grant, the horse and body from Major General Alexander McCook, and the background of Confederate prisoner captured. All right, you guys see what they were doing? They were photoshopping a lot of this fake Civil War stuff. And Abraham Lincoln, same era. We got another one right here. See how they removed the guy on the seat on the right? Again, photoshopping, adding things, removing people. Wire.com says here, early 1900s postcards show off primitive photoshopping skills. All right, you see, adding big cabbage and corn to their, and this was fake. People probably saw this back then, and it was like, wow. And here we go again with Lincoln and his fake picture. Says here, faculty.cc.gatech.edu, photo tampering throughout history. Photography lost its innocence many years ago. And as early as the 1860s, photographs were already being manipulated. Only a few decades after Niepce created the first photograph in 1814, with the advent of high-resolution digital cameras, powerful personal computers, and sophisticated photo editing software, the manipulation of digital images is becoming more common. Here I have collected some examples of tampering throughout history. All right, and again, the Lincoln, right? Lincoln. And again, we got the one with General Grant. That's fake. All these are fake right here. So they give you examples that Photoshop was being done, all right, from a long time ago. So I hope you guys got the point. Photoshopping has been going on for a very long time, and it existed during Lincoln's time. They were creating fake images of him. As it says here in stolenhistory.net, Abraham Lincoln was a weird-looking dude. A couple pictures of Lincoln, all right, if you've never seen him before. So supposedly Lincoln here with no mustache or beard, right, looking a little weird. His neck a little weird, his head like on this weird body. All of these are probably Photoshop, guys. Another weird picture of him with his messy hair. Again, this ain't Lincoln, guys. I'm gonna show you who it is. This is not Lincoln. It says Ambrotype by Samuel Altschuler. What do you mean Ambrotype? All right, again, this ain't a swarthy or very dark-skinned person. Another picture of him. We know this one was a fake one. All right, we already read that, the fake one. This is the one that ended up in Harper's Weekly, as you know. And another one right here. Again, this ain't Lincoln. I'm going to show you guys who this is. So now we get to what I wanted to show you guys. Now, shout out to the person who left me a comment once about Steven Phelps. He said, hey, if you want to know who the fake Lincoln is, it's Steven Phelps. That's the real Lincoln. So it's not that he's the real Lincoln. His name is actually Steven Phelps. He's not Lincoln at all. But this is the person they've been using as Lincoln. So again, we're in this series, History of Myth. Take it how you want. I'm going to show you, and you conclude for yourself. Now again, stolenhistory.net, it says, Abraham Lincoln's real name was Steven Phelps, and his brother played Mary Todd Lincoln. His wife, I told you that's not his wife. Remember, they faked her picture too. So again, his brothers played Mary Todd Lincoln, Jefferson Davis, Stephen Douglas, and others. It's brothers who are playing all these people. They're all related. They've been playing both sides, creating fake people, whitewashing the real people, because there was a Lincoln and there was a Jefferson Davis. And I'm going to tell you guys, Jefferson Davis was also described as swarthy in many accounts. Dark skin, olive complexion, all that. Shout out to the channel Straight Up. I saw a video, he showed it. And shout out to Big Bro James. He also has a couple books that are stating that. So of course, when we see Jefferson Davis looking so-called white again, and now we're seeing that the Phelps brothers are actually these people. Who are these Phelps brothers? I found that Abraham Lincoln was a character played by Steven Phelps, whose brothers also played the roles of his wife Mary Todd Lincoln, as well as his opponents Jefferson Davis and Stephen Douglas, among a few others. Wow. Whoa, what's going on? Say what? Is this possible? Now, they got a picture of Lincoln's wife here, supposed wife. It says, same hair length style as William. Who's William? William is Stephen's brother. One of the brothers played his wife, remember? So we're going to see a picture of William. All right, so we're going to read all this here. Now, we haven't seen the picture of the brothers yet, but just bear with me, guys. I'm going to read this here. It says, same nose, bags on the eyes, blue eyes, masculine mouth and lips, manipulated to remove Adam's apple, chest and shoulder lightened and features removed on film negative, masculine shoulder line. William's photo had been retouched where the mole might appear. So it says here, William Phelps, aka Mary Todd Lincoln. This is William Phelps here, guys. I'm going to show you. I did the genealogical tree. These were real people. These were the pictures that were popping up. As you guys can see, he looks just like her. Look, guys, look at his eyes. He's chubby like her. That's just one coincidence. I'm going to show you many when it comes to these Phelps brothers and who they look like. And down here we got brother Steven Phelps, aka Abraham Lincoln. Right here to the left, guys, that's Steven Phelps. If you guys didn't know, that's what he looks like. Doesn't he look exactly like the pictures of Lincoln and the drawings of Lincoln? And this is supposed to be Lincoln on the right, looking all young. All right, so just soak it all in real quick, guys. We're going to read a couple things. Soak it all in. And remember, we know Lincoln was a so-called black man. Jefferson Davis has been described also as being dark complexion on many accounts. So it makes sense that these people would be somebody else. Now, that's not it, right? Let's keep going. Oh, who's this? It says Myron Phelps, all right, another the brother. He's the one they modeled Jefferson Davis after. And he also is John Brown, the abolitionist. Look at the resemblances between Jefferson Davis and John Brown, guys. John Brown actually came out later in time when he would be older. There's Myron Phelps. That's why John Brown was a little older looking. This is superimposed, the picture, as you guys can see. Same thing. We're going to show the real picture of Myron Phelps. You guys can see it looks just like him. All right. Myron Phelps, aka Jefferson Davis, pro-slavery. Birthmark. John Brown. Here's John Brown with beard. It's the same person. And it's not even John Brown or Jefferson Davis. It's one of the Phelps brothers. It's Myron Phelps. All right, guys? Myron Phelps. Now, John Brown was supposedly murdered as well. It says his execution, aka disappearing act, moving on to a new character in the play. So they assassinated Lincoln, right? Well, they needed to. They got rid of John Brown, yeah. Like they're telling you right now, so he can go ahead and play another role. And what's important about this future video, says here Myron Phelps, aka Jefferson Davis, aka John Brown, aka John Tubman. Hold up. Isn't John Tubman the husband of Harriet Tubman, Araminta Ross? All right, we got a future video on her, guys. Don't worry. I want to get sidetracked here, but this is pretty deep right here. We're going to get back into that. Don't worry. All right, just wanted to show you guys this. So, I didn't know how to do this video because, I like showing real sources and stuff. This is a lot of conspiracy, and a lot of conjecture, I know. But you got to be logical, guys. Look at this. Find a grave. Steven Sumner Phelps. They even added a picture of Abraham Lincoln right next to him. Why? What does that have to do with Lincoln? Why would anybody do that? Now, we're going to read that not only did he look like him, but he was supposedly a good friend of him, and that they even talked about how they resembled each other, guys. Come on. So Steven Sumner Phelps was born in 1805 in Palmyra, Wayne County, New York. His father and his brothers had moved over to different states, eventually reaching Illinois. Steven Sumner Phelps, along with his brother Alexis, were one of the founders of Oquawka, Henderson County, Illinois. He is very famous here. We're going to read all this right now. So real quick, pioneer, Indian trader, founder of Oquawka, Illinois, close friend of Abe Lincoln. Close friend of Abe Lincoln. So he happened to know him. So he was surrounded by him. He was associated to Lincoln, the guy who actually looks like him. He was the fifth of 7 children born to Stephen and Louis Phelps. He started his first trading post in 1826 near Ottawa. By September 1828, he had purchased a claim in Oquawka, Yellowbanks, and moved there with his wife, Phoebe Chase, and brother William. He was given the nickname Hawkeye by his friends, the Sauk and Fox Indians. We're going to see he knew Black Hawk. He financed the first newspaper in Burlington, Iowa, still known as the Hawkeye. In his honor, he was the first sheriff of Warren County and the first mayor of Oquawka. Again, so a lot of history with Steven Sumner Phelps. Okay? All right, guys, so this is the genealogical tree I built. I want to show you guys that these were real people. I got their parents, I got records, everything. All right, as you guys can see, Steven Phelps, born in New York, Oquawka, Henderson, Illinois. White. We got land grants that he got in Henderson, Illinois. All right, these are real people. I actually colorized that drawing they have of him and enhanced it a little bit with the MyHeritage software that I usually use, and this is what came up. We're talking about the real fake Lincoln here, guys. Here's the gallery. A lot of these came up in the hand, except the colored ones. I actually did that. But as you guys can see, this was a real person associated to many families and important history in Illinois. Steven Sumner Phelps, the guy who looks like Lincoln, huh? Says here, Mr. Phelps is one of the pioneers of Illinois, as noted in a brief account of his brother Alexis. Now, Illinois, right? Same place where Lincoln was at, right? After remaining in Sangamon County for 4 years and Lewistown until 1826, he built a trading house near Starved Rock to trade with the Potawatomis. And in 1828, he joined his brother Alexis at Galena and lead mining. And when he was on his way back after his family suffered severely from lead poisoning, later he removed to the Mississippi, where the family had bought the claim of a settler at Jello Banks. And a few years after, the name was changed by the government to Oquawka. Mr. Phelps established trading posts in Iowa and Missouri and acquired great influence over the Indians and served as major in the Black Hawk War in 1832 and was personally thanked by General Scott for his great services. So it's a little weird because you're going to see that they mention a lot that he was a good friend to Black Hawk, but he actually participated in the war to go against Black Hawk, and he was a general there. So it kind of doesn't make sense. They might be adding a little of the hijack when they're saying he was friends to Black Hawk, because we know Black Hawk. Check out my Black Hawk video if you haven't. Black Hawk wasn't playing no games with no settlers or doing treaties or anything like that. He was for the well-being of his people. So if he was dealing with anybody, it was because these were people that were of benefit to him. So Mr. Phelps was the first sheriff of Warren County and the first merchant, who's the merchant's banker and mayor of Oquawka. Many interesting incidents are related concerning the experience of Mr. Phelps. He was a famous hunter, and his skills as a marksman added to his other qualities, and the fair treatment which he always accorded to the Indians won their respect, and he was known throughout the Indian tribes as Washeneki, Hawkeye, all right, because of his good marksman skills, okay? Many of them were lifelong friends, some remembering him even after an interval of 30 years. He furnished the funds to start the paper so widely known as the Burlington Hawkeye, named in his honor. All right, so very famous person, very prominent historical person, Steven Sumner Phelps. This is what he looks like, guys. This is what they've been using to make Lincoln. Now, the picture here says Steven Sumner Phelps pictured was a friend of Abe Lincoln, and the two shared an uncanny resemblance. Oh, really? Oh, so they were friends and they just happen to look the same, right? Come on, guys, let's be logical. I hope I'm dealing with logical people here in the chat and the audience listening. He happened to share an uncanny resemblance. He looks just like him. So another thing I want to show you in Steven Phelps' profile and his records, I found something very, very interesting. And I thought, what a coincidence and how telling. I thought it was pretty crazy. I'm going to go into the 1850 United States Federal Census. All right, so we're in the record here. And we can see Steven Sumner Phelps in the top, listed as a merchant. Remember, he's a merchant. First merchant. Who's the merchants? The rest of the family here. And I just want to show you something here incredible. I don't know if it's him, but, you know, he's the only person listed with B, or so-called black. And his name is Abraham. Abraham, 35 years old. Steven Sumner around 40. They're almost the same age. Who is this so-called Abraham? There's nothing here. When you go to birthday, it says unknown. They don't know anything about this Abraham, who has no last name. Everybody else has their last name, except this so-called black man called Abraham, who's living with Steven Sumner Phelps, who actually looks like Abraham Lincoln. And remember, they keep telling us they knew each other. Could this be Abraham Lincoln Actually, in this 1850 census at the residence of Steven Sumner Phelps, I just find it to be a very big coincidence in how they put B on him only, so-called black, and left his last name out. So you tell me, guys, Abraham. But real quick, I just wanted to show you guys, he's also on Genie.com. Stephen Phelps Sr. says, again, a pioneer Indian trader. All right, so he was dealing with Indians. Close friend of Abe Lincoln. They need to put that in there, right? Now, I want to read something to you guys here. There's a famous pocket knife that Lincoln left behind, right? It's historical now. I'm going to show you the story because it involves the Phelps, right? It says here, Abraham Lincoln was known for his quick wit as evidenced by an occurrence when he was a guest of Steven Sumner Phelps. Mr. Phelps resembled Lincoln very much. Again, Mr. Phelps resembled Lincoln very much. Come on, man, they're spilling the beans, guys. After dinner, as they were talking at the home of Mr. Phelps, Lincoln took from his pocket a very dilapidated looking pocket knife. Mr. Phelps said to him, Abe, it seems to me that is rather a poor pocket knife that you have. Lincoln replied, Sumner, it is. That knife was given to me on the condition that if I ever met an uglier man than myself, I was to give him the knife, fulfilling that condition. I now present the same to you. All right, so they're both so ugly that, hey, we share an uncanny resemblance because we both look like each other exactly and we're both so ugly. Come on, you see, guys, how they creating stories? That is him. So real quick, in blademag.com, they actually got this story here. It says, knife history. Is this Abraham Lincoln's pocket knife? George Morris, the keeper of the knife, displays the possible artifact. And here's a funny looking picture of Lincoln looking like Jefferson Davis. I'm going to show you guys what I mean. Now look at this. Origin of Lincoln's knife. And look how they put in here. Why do they got to keep saying, hey, look, they look the same, guys? Lincoln, after he stopped in Monmouth, Illinois during his senatorial campaign against Stephen Douglas, visited his longtime friend Sumner Phelps, a longtime friend. So not only do they look the same, they were longtime friends, guys. How come they never told us about his longtime friend, Steven Sumner, that actually looked like him? Because we would have asked questions. All right, so there's a whole story behind this knife, as you guys can see. I just wanted to show you guys that. And it's just funny how they say, oh, we resemble each other. Here's my knife. So again, real quick, Steven Sumner Phelps. That's the guy they used for Lincoln a lot. All right, colorized a few of them. Good old Abe. So fake Abe on the right, and then Steven Sumner Phelps. All right, they superimposed a lot. It made him look different a lot of times. Abraham Lincoln, I'm going to show you guys. Again, I just want to go over the fake Lincoln pictures, as you guys can see. Again, this ain't a swarthy fellow. Now look at this picture right here. And you got Steven Sumner Phelps right here. It's him they modeled Lincoln after. And a lot of the younger looking Lincolns are actually using his brother Myron too, superimposing him and Steven in creating Lincoln. And we get all these weird looking Lincolns. Primary sources don't lie in his autobiography. He was a so-called black man. All right, Abraham Lincoln the Negro. This is my original Lincoln video. It has more information than the last one I just showed. If you guys want to go even further back and check it out. And again, Abraham Lincoln portrayed by Bing Crosby as a black man. All right, so real quick, we got all his siblings here. We're gonna go to William Phelps. Remember, this is the guy who portrayed his wife. All right, William Phelps. There's an enhanced colorized picture of him. So again, he was born in 1808, same place, New York, and then he ended up in Illinois as well, in Lewiston. As you guys can see, real people, the parents, the siblings, Steven Sumner Phelps with Lincoln in there, and Myron Phelps, the guy that says Jefferson Davis. We're going to take a look at him too. It says here William Taylor Davison, Wikipedia. I just want to go down to a part where he's talking about William Phelps. An avid chronicler of life in Illinois during the 1880s, Davison wrote The Hermit, a novel that was published serially in the Fulton Democrat, although never in a book form. The Yellow Rose is a fictionalized account of the first year of the marriage of William Phelps, a fictionalized account, huh? An Illinois fur trader and merchant, and his wife Caroline Kelsey, niece of Ossian M. Ross, huh? Ross, just like Araminta Ross Tubman, right? Ross, like Harriet Tubman was a Ross. The founder of Lewiston, Illinois, William Phelps and Caroline Kelsey were married on March 2nd, 1830, and the narrative provides a glimpse of pioneer life in Illinois and neighboring states during the early to mid 1800s. Right? So again, they used him to create books. Again, the couple were the basis for the main characters of Davison's novel The Yellow Rose. William Phelps also presumed to be the basis for the character of Old Bill Pearson mentioned in Hut Put and Edgar Lee's Master Spoon River anthology. Cheche Pinequa, the name given to William Phelps by Native Americans, referred to his powerful upper body. All right, big shoulders, just like Lincoln's wife. Going into William Phelps again, his brother, and he was the wife. Yeah, he was the wife with her green eyes, same look, you guys can see, same fat cheeks, same eyebrows, deep eyes, almost a little slanted with green. You guys can see the slanted eye, green eyes. That's him. Go back to his picture. You see? This is her right here again. You see? Tell me that don't look like him. Almost exactly. Could be like her brother. Could be her twin brother. Same green eyes, same lips, same lines going down the nose, same way. Here's another one again. Again, same green eyes, same chubby face. Of course, they're going to Photoshop her a little bit, make it look more womanly. Remember, these pictures are being altered. So they're going to look a little slightly different. But you guys can see it's uncanny, the resemblance. What another coincidence, right? That Myron Phelps' brother, Steven Sumner Phelps, looks like Abraham Lincoln and he actually looks like her wife. Do you guys think that's a coincidence? Again, let's be logical. All right, so we return to the tree. We got William and Stephen. There's also Charles Phelps and the sisters. We're not counting in. And then now we go to Myron Phelps. Now remember, they said he's the one that looks like Jefferson Davis. All right, so this is Myron Phelps' profile page right here. Born 1803, died in 1878 in Lewiston, Fulton County, Illinois. All right, the brother of Steven Sumner Phelps. And we're going to take a look at it real quick at his gallery. Just want to show you guys. And I found this. This was part of the hints. And I colorized them. This is Myron Phelps right here. A little closer look. Myron Phelps, right? Says here, Myron Phelps, born in Palmyra, New York, and died in Lewiston, Illinois. Says Mr. Phelps had a position at a bank in Canandaigua, but removed with his father to Illinois in 1820, where they settled near Springfield in 1824. He opened a store and was an early settler of Lewiston, and met with great success, especially in dealing with the Indians. So all the brothers were dealing with Indians, and company with his father and brothers, and went into business with the American Fur Company. Remember, these fur traders, they weren't just trading fur. A lot of them were trading Indians as slaves too. They were in the slaving business. You guys can see I'm not making this up. This person is real. Myron Phelps, this is his gravesite. And again, that's the picture I found of him. Myron Phelps, right? Now here is Myron Phelps again. No, sir, I just tricked you guys. This is Jefferson Davis. This is Jefferson Davis. Take a good look at him, right? Supposedly Jefferson Davis, right? Now, who's Jefferson Davis again, guys? He was the enemy or the opposition to the Union. He was the leader of the Confederate Party, the president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis. He was supposed to be Abraham Lincoln's rival, but he's actually his brother, Myron Phelps. Steven Sumner Phelps' brother, Myron, played Jefferson Davis. Here's the black and white image I colorized. Here's Myron, Jefferson, Myron, Jefferson. Keep going down. Myron, 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 and boom. All right, guys. Now I want you to use your eyes and be logical. Look at the resemblance of these two people. It's almost uncanny. And it's like literally they superimposed the picture. They flipped it. Like you guys see how his eyebrows go up on this picture of the real Myron, and then how the eyebrows go up this way. So it's like superimposed the other way. That's what I see. And the eyes go in dark, the eyebrows, the shape of his shin, everything. I see a lot of resemblance here, guys. There's another picture of Jefferson Davis, just to get like another look at it. And I know Myron Davis' picture is not the best, and that's the only one we got. But I bet you we can find a lot more pictures of Myron, if there is. It's probably these ones we're looking at about Jefferson Davis. Superimposed, edited, and photoshopped to make him look a little different. Remember that. Now, I also want to point out that Jefferson Davis has an uncanny resemblance to Abraham Lincoln's younger pictures. Let me show you what I mean. Here's just one example. Now, to the left is supposed to be Abraham Lincoln. To the right is Jefferson Davis. Now, look at these two pictures, guys. Don't they look very similar too? It's almost like they're photoshopping Steven Sumner Phelps and Myron Phelps together sometimes to create Lincoln. Now, I'm not the only one who has noticed that. Let me show you something real quick. This here in ifunny.co or co, copycat or myth, history or myth, part 4. It says here Jefferson Davis, Abraham Lincoln in parentheses, first president of the Confederacy, president of the United States. Lincoln didn't exist. Davis was president of both. All right, so this person probably noticed the resemblance. He was like, hey, there was no real Lincoln. This is Lincoln right here. It was actually Jefferson Davis. He played both, but he doesn't know that this Jefferson Davis actually looks exactly like Myron Phelps. And Lincoln's older pictures look exactly like Myron Phelps' brother, Steven Sumner Phelps. It's not that he wasn't real, it's that they've been whitewashing and using a decoy this whole time, tricking us, making us think Lincoln looks like somebody else. Now, you can't deny they don't look the same, guys. Come on, look at that. Use your eyes again and be logical. Again, to the right is Lincoln, to the left is Jefferson Davis. Look at the resemblance. Remember, they were photoshopping Lincoln all the time. Who says they wouldn't use Myron first and then Steven Sumner next, later on in his years when he had beard? They could have done that. Another website here says Mossad, outblogspot.com. Of course, these ain't going to be on real websites because they don't want you to know this stuff, guys. But, it says here Dixie leader Jefferson Davis and Yankee General Abraham Lincoln were the same illuminists, all right? A whole different person. So there's another image of him. It goes Jefferson Davis on the left and Abraham Lincoln on the right. As you guys can see, very similar. Another one, Abraham Lincoln and Jefferson Davis. But I just wanted to show you guys that so you guys can see. It seems like they were doing a lot of Photoshop when it came to Lincoln's pictures and the whole Civil War story, because we're finding out the whole Civil War thing was not how they told us. Might have not even gone down at all like they told us. So they had to create these fake pictures, these fake stories, people posing as dead people on the floor to make it look like there was just a battle. We read that earlier. They were doing that. Again, let's be logical. We know Abraham Lincoln was a so-called black man. So none of these people are them. We know Jefferson Davis was also described as dark complexioned. So it makes sense that they would Photoshop and whitewash him and use the Phelps brothers for that again. Now again, when you start reading about Steven Sumner Phelps, you're going to find a lot of websites, when it comes to Illinois, same things, that he was Hawkeye, marksman, Indian trader, first settler of this area, his whole story. And as you guys can see, that's Lincoln, the fake Lincoln right there. They used him and his brothers to create Lincoln's fake image. There's actually a lot written about him. Notable Phelps family members, Steven Sumner Phelps, pioneer. All right, same story as you guys can see, same picture. This is in the journal of the Illinois State Historical Society, and this is the story of Steven Sumner Phelps as well, and you guys can see the images right there. It says here in page 6, in 1832, during the Black Hawk War, Mr. Phelps served as major, and it was largely due to his influence that Keokuk's band did not join Black Hawk in the war. Remember, we read about how Keokuk sold out to Black Hawk, and it was Phelps' fault. Now we know the backstory. 2 of the narrow escapes of his life were among the incidents of that war. One was when a victorious band of Black Hawk's warriors shook the scalps of the murdered settlers in his face and threatened to serve him the same way. The other occasion was when some soldiers returning from the war who had imbibed more than they should threatened to take him kill the old Chief Tama, who was on a visit to Yellowbanks, and also Mr. Phelps for harboring him. It was Captain Peter Butler's company from Monmouth who saved the two as they arrived at Yellowbanks at the moment of greatest danger. This incident is given in Miss Talbert's history with Lincoln as the principal. No doubt the close resemblance of Mr. Phelps to Lincoln led one of the spectators among the soldiers passing through to attribute it to Lincoln, who was not at Yellowbanks at the time. Do you guys see that? They just spilled the beans here completely. They just got caught. I hope you guys understood this part. They're literally telling you that they got caught attributing the same story to two different people who actually happened to look exactly the same as the same person. They messed up. You see, they attributed the same story to Lincoln and to Steven Sumner Phelps, guys. They even admitted it that they messed up and attributed the story to Lincoln when it was Steven Sumner Phelps. You're not going to mistake Lincoln for this guy. Lincoln is Lincoln. He was very famous and popular. They would have known if it was Lincoln. That's because he was the fake Lincoln. This was in the autobiography of Black Hawk by J.B. Patterson that they attributed that to Lincoln when it was actually Mr. Phelps historically. All right, so I just want to read that. Another thing right here says Mr. Phelps was a personal friend of Abraham Lincoln. A personal friend of Abraham Lincoln. It is related that on the occasion of one of Lincoln's visits to Mr. Phelps, Lincoln took a knife from his pocket and handed it to Mr. Phelps with the remarks, "You look just like me. We're both ugly. Here, if you see anybody uglier in your life, give him this knife." So we know the story. And it's, again, they're not going to quote where we can find that. So now it's going to get into about him and his brother. We haven't even got to Alexis. So going back to the tree, we got Steven Sumner Phelps, Myron Phelps over here, and Alexis Phelps. His house is actually very historic. It's listed as U.S. National Register of Historic Places. It says here the Alexis Phelps House is a historic home located on the Mississippi River at Oquawka in Henderson County, Illinois. The New England-style house was built in 1832-1833 by Alexis Phelps, a fur trader and one of the first settlers of the region. Phelps, who was born in Palmyra, New York, settled on a piece of land known as Yellow Banks, which his brother Stephen had purchased in 1828. Alexis and Stephen Phelps founded Oquawka, which they named for the Native American name for Yellow Banks. Now listen to this. Stephen Douglas, who frequently presided over the Henderson County Circuit Court, stayed in the house during his visits to Oquawka. The house was also rumored to be a stop for the Underground Railroad. Who was in charge of the Underground Railroad? Harriet Tubman? Oh, but she's not real, right? That's what somebody said. Oh, I got a future video. I got her genealogy done, guys, and living descendants to tell you that she's real. So what a coincidence that this house was used as an Underground Railroad, and Stephen Douglas, Abraham Lincoln's rival for the presidency, was always there. You're going to read that a lot, that Stephen Douglas was there a lot. Oquawka, right? Oquawka. It happens that Lincoln was actually there supposedly in 1858, not 1958, they messed up, but 1858 to give a speech in his election campaign for the Illinois Senate. Running against Lincoln was Douglas. So both of them were actually in Oquawka, and both of them were good friends of the Phelps, who were supposed to be here. Now, this is supposed to be Lincoln, she drew, and this is supposed to be Steven Sumner Phelps right next to him, who looks more like Lincoln in this picture. And again, she drew Obama down here for some reason. She says it. You know, she writes why she wrote it. But I just wanted to show you guys that he was actually there. The site where Lincoln spoke was the Moore Bank in 1858, and it's now the Oquawka Diner. All right, so come on now. Dodge the hijack with all the whitewash and the fake people here. All right, so I just wanted to show you guys. A stop for the Underground Railroad, huh? And Myron Phelps is supposed to be John Brown, who's supposed to be John Tubman, who's supposed to be the husband of Harriet Tubman. It's just getting pretty interesting. I found this as well on Pinterest. Wanted to add it. It says here, left, Jefferson Davis, and on the right, good old Abe. Now look at the resemblance, guys. This one right here don't even look like Lincoln, you know, when he's older with beard and stuff. So you see what they were kind of doing? It seems like the younger pictures of Lincoln are actually, you know, Myron Phelps, and the older ones are Steven Sumner Phelps. Now remember, Stephen Douglas was always there in Oquawka. He was a friend of Alexis, Myron, and all of them, William, and even Steven Sumner Phelps. But they're saying that one of the brothers played Stephen Douglas. So this might be a Phelps here we're looking at. We don't have the pictures of the other brothers, but this might be a Phelps. As you guys can see, many of his pictures got that Masonic, you know, hidden hand thing. I also want to point out there's a lot of fake pictures, like this one. As you guys can see, they had so many fake pictures of Douglas, Lincoln, and all these people in the Civil War. So many photoshopped images. And then all you're going to find is drawings and fake images of Myron Phelps and Steven Sumner Phelps and the Phelps brothers. And again, more fake images and drawings. There's no real images of these people actually debating with a large crowd. Come on. So one more thing I wanted to share, guys, before we go today, and it's what it says here is Was the First Lady of the Confederacy black? Yeah, they're talking about Jefferson Davis's wife, and this is what she looked like. If you go into it, you'll see there's a lot of actual articles and people talking about, and you start looking at her pictures, young and old, and you start looking, really looking. It does appear that she is a so-called Black American. Now, when you look for this so-called wedding picture of them, her name is Verena Howell, right, First Lady, and Jefferson Davis. You'll see that this wedding picture of them looks very weird, especially Jefferson Davis. He looks photoshopped the background. If you look at the different pictures online of this same picture, like it looks photoshopped. Kind of both of them put in this place, put together. But I just wanted you guys to know, if you want to research it even more, it makes sense, knowing that, he's described as, dark complexion too, in a lot of books, that his wife would be so-called black. So again, I'll just let you guys conclude, knowing all the facts and just looking at all these coincidences here, whether this is history or a myth. I hope you guys enjoyed part 4 of this series. Thanks once again for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow.